And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another video, another discussion. In today's discussion, I'm going to discuss why I think that Cleveland Browns shouldn't focus on getting a quarterback, or really the quarterback position in general, in the upcoming draft and, in free agency and signing people and whatnot. Today's video will be discussing what they should focus on and what they shouldn't focus on, and obviously I'm going to go more in depth as the video goes on, but for right now, let's get into the commentary. Okay, so to start out this discussion, the draft's coming up, I think in a month or two, relatively soon. I think in March or so it comes up. I'm not really sure when. Scouting Combine hasn't happened yet too, so, we got a lot of stuff to cover in the offseason. But in the upcoming draft, Cleveland, a lot of people have been saying Cleveland should draft Jared Goff, Carson Wentz, although I think Carson Wentz is going to get drafted somewhere else. And I don't think that they should do that, because if you take a look at pretty much every year after they got their team back, I think like 2002 or 2001 or something, they got their team back, they haven't had a good quarterback. They haven't had a single good season, really. I don't think they even made they made the playoffs like twice within the past 10 years, 20 or 15 years, I should say. And they haven't had a good quarterback, and it's because they've been focusing too much on that position. If you just focus on one position, you have to put weapons around this position. So, using quarterback as an example, if you just focus on the quarterback position, you have to build around it. Because if you don't, then you're not going to have anything. Because you're just going to have, even if you had Peyton Manning, if you had no weapons around him, no offensive line, and no run game, he'd be a dud, even in his prime. If you have anyone, Russell Wilson, Michael Vick, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, freaking Tom Brady, anyone, they wouldn't be good. That's why you shouldn't focus just on this position. What they should do is this is what Seattle did too, by the way. Go young, draft people from different positions, get people on defense, get some good players on defense, on offense, get some receivers, get a good running game, a good blocking game, and then get a quarterback, and then bring in 3 or 4 quarterbacks through free agency, maybe draft a quarterback, and then through those 4 quarterbacks, in preseason play, through those 4 quarterbacks, see which one does the best. You play all 4 quarterbacks equally throughout the entirety of the preseason. Whoever does the best is the starter week 1. And since you've already got all these weapons around him, then you can just build around him at that point. Because if you just focus on one position, it won't be any good. And that's what they should do. And it hasn't worked. They haven't had a good season in a long time, long time. And that's because they haven't built their team. They haven't had a good coaching staff to really, lead this team and build and, get the building blocks to build this team upon. And really set the foundation for you would think it would be a good franchise, because they've had good players before. They've had top drafted players like Manziel and Brady Quinn, but they haven't done anything, and that's partially because they don't have anyone around them. So yeah, but they shouldn't only focus on that in general. They should really focus on a coaching staff that's smart. Hugh Jackson, their new coach, I think he'll get it done. I'm not sure what will happen in the future. Hopefully Cleveland could get the job done eventually, get a fairly decent team, because Cleveland's one of those teams just like Jacksonville and Detroit. They have good seasons, but they just can't maintain it. And if you can't maintain it, then it defeats the purpose of having that good team, because then you can't build upon it. You need to have consecutively good seasons. Again, using Seattle as an example, they went young. First year after they had Russell. First year that Seattle had Russell Wilson, went 11-5. Second year they went 12-4. Third year they went 13-3, won the Super Bowl. Second year they went 13-3, won the Super Bowl. My bad. And then they went 12-4 and lost in the Super Bowl, and they went like 10-6 or something like that and lost in the divisional round. But still, they've been relatively speaking, very balanced, and they haven't had bad years really. You could consider the past year a bad year, when this most recent year, but they made it to second place in their division, placed sixth, made it to the 6th seed, made it to the playoffs, and made it to the second round, which isn't bad, especially considering that, you know, most teams have troubles just making it to the playoffs in general, and they've been able to beat top contender teams, and they almost came back from Carolina, and you know, Seattle really used what I've been saying. You can use Seattle as a good example of what you should do. You should go young, build a team as a whole first, and really focus on who you get, not where you get the person. You know, you got to focus on how many people you get, and you usually get these guys in the later rounds too. People overlook, people who or players, I should say, who people overlook. You know, and after all of this, especially with a team that isn't, you know, you got to deal with other problems that don't really involve money, but involve the coach, because even if you do find success, even if you, especially, you know, with a bad team, even if you do find good success in the beginning, then it starts to drift away and you still make the playoffs, but you don't actually make it anywhere, you still have run the chance of getting fired. So it's tough being a coach in general, especially in the NFL, where, you know, it's different in basketball really, because they stay for a long time, especially in college basketball. Guy at Gonzaga has been there for 17 years, and the guy Lorenzo Romar, the guy from Washington, he's been there for, I don't know, like longer than I've been alive. I know that for a fact, 20 years or so. And in NFL football especially, or in NFL, you know, that league, it's really hard to maintain a franchise and then maintain success in general, because you can start out slow, but you can't start out big and then end slow. Then you're going to be on the hot seat, you're going to get fired. Anyways, if you guys have suggestions for future discussions, please leave it down below. I'm always looking for suggestions for discussions, because I have a few ideas for it. I've had a few suggestions, but if you actually do leave a suggestion, make sure the topic's broad. It can be looked at many different ways, because if you suggest a video about a specific team, then it's hard to, you know, narrow that down, like that entire topic down to one specific thing. So make sure to suggest one specific thing you want me to narrate over. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.